and believed, for they did not yet understand the scripture that he had to rise from the dead. The Gospel of the Lord.
The church always does Easter well. It's a big celebration. The church is decorated, the music is strong, the liturgies go on and on. Though last night we finished in less than 3 hours, so you could have come last night, you would have enjoyed it. Not that many baptisms, so it speeds it up. We prepare for it for 40 days. And we celebrate Easter for 50 days. We're making a big splash here and a big statement. So I just always want the scriptures and Jesus' own way of celebrating Easter to be the same. I want Jesus to rise from the dead in some kind of big splash. I'm here! You know, come on. We get these little quiet appearances. Not like I always dream in my mind that Jesus could go back and see those people who were involved in the trial, you know, and just show up in their office one day. Caiaphas is sitting there at his desk working away, and Jesus says, yoo-hoo, remember me? Or Pilate, when he's out for a walk, Jesus just shows up, hey, you thought I was dead? Here I am, back to life. Just always want that. But that's not what Jesus gives us. That's not what the scripture writers give us when they recall his resurrection appearances. It's always these moments where we have a sense, but we're not really sure. And on every Easter, the church gives us simply an empty tomb. And that the empty tomb is to be enough for us. I've said this several times here, but I always think it's almost part of my Easter ritual to explain why the folded up cloths matter. It was in an early Bible study I was doing. I was a young priest, and we were looking at this passage, and an older farmer said, I know why they would see the clothes and believe. And I, you do? And he said, yeah. He said, I'm a grandpa. You know, all the grandkids are over at the house. They're in all different bedrooms. And I don't have to see them in a bedroom to know which one was in that bedroom. All I have to do is walk in the bedroom and look at the way the bed is. I know who is sleeping in it. I can tell by the way they've folded up the clothing in the room. He said, certainly the disciples would know how Jesus folded his clothes. They would have seen that. That's why the rolled up head was what Jesus would have done. Oh, that's the way Jesus folded his clothes. They would have just said, if nobody came and stole them, because that's the way Jesus cared for his stuff. They knew. But it is the way Jesus continues to work with us in our lives. And so perhaps it's just Jesus' way. Because our experience of Jesus is similar to that very beginning experience. What drew the women there to see an empty tomb? What draws Peter and John there to run to that tomb this morning? What was it that initially called them there? They had seen the horror of the crucifixion. They had seen Jesus suffering. They knew the fear. But yet, something drew them. I'm sure that what drew them was love. That's what got them there, overcoming all the things that were keeping them away, was love. And it's what draws you to Jesus. It is what draws you here this morning. It is love. And that is the way it is with our God and us, that God sends his Spirit deep into your hearts and plants a desire there, something that calls you out of yourself and into this relationship with God. It is just that initial tug of love that calls you to something more with God. And then when you respond, when you spend time with God, when you live what he teaches, as you go through that experience, you will have, as those early disciples did, little glimpses of the presence of God. We might desire the big splash. Just be very clear, God, reveal yourself to me. But that's not what God does. It's just a little glimpse now and then. And perhaps it's not until reflecting on it later that we realize that God was there. Just like in the upcoming weeks, we will have these Gospels where people thought he was a stranger on the road. Mary thought he was the gardener. What did you do with him? Like them, sometimes it's not until we look back on it we say, oh my gosh, my heart was burning within me in the midst of that conversation, in the midst of that encounter, in the midst of that prayer. God was there. I didn't notice it until later and looked back. And all those little glimpses help us to realize the gift of this relationship that we have with God and the reality of today's promise. Because today we celebrate not just that Easter is about Jesus, but we celebrate that Easter is there for each one of us. For what Jesus offers us today is the same new life that he has. Easter